Here we go. Okay. Show you my screen. Okay. So just a quick recap, as quick as I can make it. We're asking the question, who am I this year in the dynamic program? It's a question of identity. It's made up of 4 other questions. Where do I come from? A question of origin. Why am I here? A question of meaning. Where am I going? A question of destiny. And those 2 things answer the question of what is my purpose. Then finally, we're going to do what is right and wrong in term 4, a question of morality. And that defines, or rather limits, what my passions would be and what my potential is about. So we are talking about this area of potential, purpose, destiny. This is the parts we're focusing on this term. And our first topic in our first session this term was, what is success? Okay, so that we had a vision for our life and we asked the question, what is success? Who's here? Let's ask Kate. Kate, how do you now define success? You can have your own definition, don't have to have my definitions, but how do you define success for yourself now?
I would say success for me is something I always something I wanted to do, and something and the way I succeed doing it, like my self-discipline, something it's everything I do to get to something I really wanted in my life. So the way how I do it, not just me doing it because I need to do it, but it's a choice for me. And if I want to become somebody or do something or reach a certain goal, I feel it's the way I do it, the way I get there, not just me doing it to impress somebody. Let's say it's something for me, and it's the way I do it. It's a choice.
Good. Oh, thanks. That's great. Does anyone else want to give their definition of success, or remind us what how do we define success? But that's very good, Kate.
I think success to me is when you've achieved a goal that you set and worked really hard on.
Good. Thank you. That's Tyler, name.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay, excellent. The 2 definitions we looked at is to say that success is becoming all that God has intended you to be. That's one. If you have a theistic worldview that you were created by God, then obviously success would be becoming that which God has intended you to be. The more general definition that could include even people if they didn't believe in God is that success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So our first idea was in this term, and the second session we did was about setting these worthy ideals. In other words, setting goals, things that are worth living for and things that are worth dying for. And we looked at the research, and that research showed that by simply writing down your goals, you have a 95% more probability of actually achieving them. So not just having them in mind, but actually writing them down. Quickly, you can tell me the 3 reasons why writing down your goals helps you achieve your goals. There were three reasons. You can give me at least one.
It serves as a outer storage.
Excellent. Thanks, Danielle. Yes, it's a form of external storage. You're going to forget because life happens, and you're going to forget what the things were that you were dreaming about. And this serves as an external storage. There's another good reason. There's 2 more, but there's another good reason.
One of them was so you can set your mind to it and accomplish it.
Yeah, well done. So it's a form of putting it in your memory as well. So it's both an external form of memorizing, because it's now outside of your mind, but it also, when you write something down, it is more ingrained in your memory. You guys make notes for a reason, because when you make notes, it is better ingrained in your memory. And the last one was just that the research shows there's a probability chance that when you write it down. Okay, those are 3 goals. They were SMART goals. You guys formulated a few short-term or at least 1-year goals, or a few life goals rather. And then after that, you wrote down 10 short-term goals and identified or wrote them down with the 3 Ps. So whenever you write down your goals, always make them personal, positive, and in the present tense, as if it's already true. Okay. And then you chose one of them. And from that one, we focused on the 2 things that, the 2 biggest mistakes that people make in achieving their goals. The one is underestimating the effort that it's going to take. In other words, if you think it's going to take, so for example, I gave one example that that one of my short-term goals is for us to appoint a deputy principal to free up my time to be more available. And so now I've recently estimated that we would need at least 30 extra students in Alroy in order to afford a deputy principal. And here, with underestimating the effort, instead of realizing I'm going to have to work to get 30 more students, I need to go for 300 more students, because we always underestimate the effort it's going to take to reach that goal. The next thing we always do is we underestimate our potential. If you think that you have the potential to, let's say, own a business, okay, and that is one of your goals, is to start a business. Well, we always underestimate your potential. You could start 10 businesses. So it's called the 10x principle. I didn't write it down nicely in words here, but we'll definitely get to that sometime this term as well, where we look at maximizing your effort as well as your vision and your dreams. Then there were steps for achieving these goals. And here is, we're going to get to more of these later on, because everything in the end is about actually trying to achieve these goals, working towards them, because they are life goals. They are big things. You write them down, you set a time frame, you determine what needs to happen. So in other words, you make a list of things that you know must happen. For example, for myself, I needed to interview people. I needed to determine a cost. I needed then to determine how many students we're going to need. So then you make it in a checklist. So what are these things? What are the things I need to now do to do it? Then you develop a system. We're going to focus on that soon. And you need to take action. You need to do something. So it doesn't help you just have a goal on paper. Do something. And the next thing you do is do something every single day. Work on your goals every single day. Now, all of this means it's massive effort. You must just give it your all. This is, in the end, remember we said these are goals worth living for and worth dying for. So that is what you're going to spend your energy and your life on. Last week we looked at unlocking your potential, and that was all about changing your thinking. Please, someone, let me go to the screen so that I can how do I unpin this? Someone unpin. Okay, let me go there. Let me pick on someone that I know was here last week. Okay, Sharon, you no, wait, is it in Nkosinati? Nkosinati, were you here last week? Can't remember.
Yes, sir.
Tell me something about last week that stood out for you that we did.
The separating your limiting beliefs and your basically, yeah, your limiting beliefs and your
Empowering beliefs.
empowering beliefs, yeah.
Yeah, identifying limiting beliefs and empowering beliefs. We watched a video. What was the main point in that video? Who can tell me? Maybe someone that hasn't answered yet. Naomi, were you here last week? What is the main point in that video? We watched a video called The Strangest Secret in the World. What was that secret?
No, sir, I wasn't here last week.
You weren't?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Sharon, can you remember?
I remember the video was about success and why some people fail before they get that success. I can't remember the exact secret, but it was it had statistics on the people who success compared to who complete success, reach success compared to the people who thought they would get success when they were 25
Yeah,
up to
yeah, that was
the
kind of
60s.
that was kind of the intro. But what was the secret? You can help, Sharon. What was the secret, the strangest secret in the world that produced
Was
the success?
sorry.
Let's give Hannah a chance then. Hannah?
I'm not sure if this is the correct answer, but I think it's you become what you think about,
That's exactly it.
and yeah,
Man
and
becomes, yeah, I'll give you a chance to finish that thought, Hannah, but man becomes what he thinks about most. So what you think about becomes reality. What you imagine for yourself, that is what you believe about yourself. That's what will manifest about yourself. Okay, so that was the whole thing about where the limiting beliefs and empowering beliefs come in. If you like, um, I'm not a sporty person. I don't think of myself as an athletic person. And so most of the time, or I never did any sports. I didn't do exercise. I never did gymming or anything like that. So my health was deteriorating. So why? Because I believed myself as not being a certain person. Or so it is what you think about affects your life. So this is what needs to change. We need to change our thinking, because the way that you think, what you think, what you believe about yourself and think about yourself, that is what's going to manifest. We're going to definitely spend more on that topic today. But last week sorry, Hannah, let me allow you to finish your sentence. You wanted to say a bit more.
I just wanted to say we become what we think about. Therefore, we need to have a positive mind frame and build up a lot of confidence in ourselves.
That's excellent. Yeah. So that's what we did last week, is identifying some limiting beliefs, and this should be a continuous exercise. As soon as you notice something about yourself that limits what you are, so some negative thought that somehow kind of, in a sense, steals from your life, you need to identify that limiting belief. Now, one of the tools, and we didn't really get time to talk about that, but there's two motivators in our lives, two things that motivate us. One is pain, the other thing is pleasure. Okay, when it comes down to it, what affects every single decision in your life is what you desire. And all of us desire to avoid pain and pursue pleasure. And I don't mean that necessarily in a carnal way. I just mean things that make us enjoy life. We want to pursue things that make us not enjoy life. We want to avoid. And so what you need to do in order to overcome a limiting belief is realize just how much pain it will cause you, just how detrimental it is. Once you realize how destructive a negative thought is in your life, and you build it up as this thing that's going to rob you and destroy part of your destiny, once you realize just how destructive it is, you will start avoiding it and make every effort to change the way you think. Conversely, once you realize how helpful empowering beliefs is, and how much, if you have a good frame of mind, how much benefits that can have in your life, then you will start emphasizing having more positive, more empowering thoughts about yourself in life. Okay, good. That was unlocking our potential. We watched this video, Stranger's Secret. There's two major things, guys. If there's anything that I hope you guys take out of all of these sessions, it's one is that you have unlimited potential. Like, I don't know what you think about success. Okay, in whatever you pursue. Maybe you're into Olympics and it just amazes you. You're so fascinated by people. That's a person. Okay, that's a person. And okay, not everyone is going to be an Olympic swimmer, because you need a certain body build. But if you have some natural features that make you able to pursue something, there's no reason that person can't be you. Okay, you have unlimited potential. But the other part is also true, that personal responsibility, only you are responsible for your success. Like, doesn't matter what bad stuff happens to you. It's your bad stuff. It happened to you. You need to deal with it, and you need to take responsibility. No one is going to make you successful. Success is something that you need to grab hold of, however you define it. It is your responsibility to pursue it. Now, again, I don't mean to say that there aren't bad things that happen to you, and especially if you're a believer in God, obviously you need the grace of God. You need the empowering of God. But if you do not pursue it, if you do not take it, you do not take responsibility to become that which you have been called to be, it's not just going to happen. Okay. So personal, these are the two major themes in success. The main theme last week was the law of belief. You become what you think about most of the time. And you must just write this down somewhere. Just write it down somewhere so that you can see it every single day. You become what you think about most of the time. And if you think of yourself as a successful person, as a positive person, as a funny person, as a delightful person, as a person that other people want to be around, whatever you think about, that is the type of person you're going to become, because that's what you think about. Okay, that's what's going to manifest. Okay, today we are going to focus on the topic of choosing, and this is making decisions. And the most important decision to make in your life, the most frequent decision you are going to have to make in order to become successful, is to choose to change. Choose to change. So that's going to be today's topic. Okay. How many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? You've heard that joke before. How many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? It takes only one psychologist, but it's really difficult, and the light bulb must want to change. I don't know if you get that joke, but that's typically how psychologists approach a situation. That if they are counseling with someone, if the person doesn't want to change, they're not going to change. Okay. That part of this joke is actually true. The part of that is not true is that change is difficult, and that change takes a long time. That's not true. Change, yeah, it might be difficult, but it doesn't take a long time. Change is immediate. Okay. In order to change, because remember, where the change needs to happen is in your mind. It's how you think. That doesn't have to take a long time. That can be immediate. So change doesn't take a long time. It is immediate. It doesn't even have to be difficult, but it happens in your mind, because that's where the change needs to happen. You need to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You need to think differently. That can happen in a moment, but the effect of that change might take a long time. For example, with exercising, for me is now a good example. I had to choose to be healthy, to be athletic. I had to make that decision. Now, making the decision it wasn't really hard. It was just making the decision. It was an immediate decision. And the effect of my body taking shape, that obviously takes a long time. So the effect of the change is taking long, but the change was immediate. And that's the important principle to remember, that in order to change, remember the topic is to choose to change. In order to change, you need to realize that it is a decision that you have to make. Now, some of you made some goals. So look at the goals that you wrote down a few weeks ago. Those 10 goals, short-term life goals. Okay, hopefully they're close by. You have to write down 10 goals that you wanted to achieve in a year's time. Now, with a marker, identify those goals, and maybe you weren't here, And while we give the other people a chance to go through their goals, make a sign next to the goals that you wrote down that isn't goals, they are decisions. I remember one, I won't mention a name, but you'll know who I'm speaking about. Someone said they want to spend more quiet time, reading the Bible, praying, more time with God. That was one of the goals. That isn't a goal, that is a decision. How do I know whether it's a goal or a decision? It's a goal or decision if it can change in this very moment. In other words, one of mine was that I wrote down, and I had to realize it as well, is I want to spend more time with my kids. I'm way too busy. I want to spend more time with my kids. So that was one of my goals, something I want to achieve in a year's time. And then I realized, no, it's not a goal, it's a decision. It's something I must choose now and make that decision and change my mindset to prioritize my children. And so this morning, I spent an hour with my kids before I came to work. So in other words, it doesn't have to be something I'm working towards. It's a decision I can make now. So go look through that list that you've made. How many things, or go and indicate those things that can change about me this very moment. I can make a decision and I can stick to that decision and just be different. Okay. If you didn't have those goals written down, then think of some things in your life where you wish it was different, and actually, if you just choose, it could be different. If you just make that decision and commit to it, it can be different. I'll give about 5 minutes for that. Yes, you're welcome to speak up.
Sorry, I do want to ask, is building up a skill a decision or a goal?
So the thing is, if you every goal starts with a decision, because you have to take an action and you have to decide what you need to do. So building up a skill is typically a goal because you want to do it, but you need to decide to take action. So every goal does start with a decision. That's also true. But some of our goals are not things that we need to achieve in the future. It's things I need to start. It's things I need to do now. Does that make sense? I don't have to wait a year. A goal is something that lies in the future. It's out of reach. I need to work towards it. So I would say a skill is more a goal than it is a decision. But it starts with a decision because I have to do something.
Okay, so thank you.
Yes, Kate.
I wanted to ask, so if you want to change the way you, let's say, handle situations or deal with a problem, will that be a goal or like a belief or like a decision? Because it takes time to build yourself or to get yourself to do something. Will that be a goal or?
That's a very good question. Obviously, I think if you could give me a little bit more context, then I can help you think through it.
Like an
So,
example, if I use an example, like let's say I'm afraid to speak to let's say my parents about something, and I've been wanting to do it for a long time, but I don't, or I don't have the, not the power, but I don't have like every time I just want to do it, it just doesn't come out. Like I can't do it. Is it, how do you, like I don't know how to say it, but it's like you have to work, you have to work on yourself to be able to do it. But will that be like a goal then? Because
Yeah. Kate, in most of the cases, our biggest problem is actually our thinking. Okay, so the more we think about it, the less we are likely to do it, because we are we think of reasons, like our imagination runs a bit wild with us. So the reason why we're fearful to do something is because the more we think about, the more our imagination runs wild with it, and then we think of all the ways it could go wrong, and then try and find ways in which we can avoid that, but eventually it just postpones it. So for me, this sounds more like something that you just have to decide, I am going to do it. There's another situation where I find myself in, where I need to report something. But I'm worried that things are going to go wrong, and it's been 2 months and I haven't done that. So even just in terms of us now speaking, I realize that is a decision I have to make, because it's something I can do today. So if it's something you can do today and you want to do it, then choose to do it. I'm not sure if that's helpful for you, but usually it's just better to pluck up the courage and confidence, because you have it. It's your mind that is trying to protect you somehow from consequences that you don't know what the consequences are going to be. Don't know if that's helpful.
it is very much. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. There's a few things like this that we should probably, I'll try to remember. There's a few things, some things like forgiveness, things like confession, like you've done something wrong, and you really need to tell someone, or you need to forgive someone that's done something against you and it's just causing you hurt and harm, keeping it in, or keeping it, holding it against people. These are typical things that fall under decisions. We postpone it, and as a result, we never do it. No. Okay, great. Hopefully you guys have identified now a few things that you can actually just choose to do, guys, and you can do it today. Imagine that you can actually have accomplished some of your goals by simply choosing to do them today. Don't do them tomorrow, because you won't do it. Do them today. Okay. Don't postpone things that you can do the same day. Next, you will remember from that previous video, hopefully, that the opposite of courage. So in order to do something, in order to make a decision and actually go forward with it, you need courage. And the opposite of courage is not cowardice. If you're not doing something, it's not because what you're lacking is not courage. You're not a coward. What the problem is, it's conformity. We do what most people do. And so in the video, the guy explained that the reason why most people are not successful in their endeavors, like he was taking a group of 100 people, of that 100 people, 95% of them do not achieve their hopes and dreams. And the reason why is because we conform. We do what everyone else does. We fall into this this pattern of doing the way life the way other people do life. And so, for example, most people don't write their goals. Okay, like what value is there in writing down your goals? If you were ever to ask people and challenge them for having done them, they all have excuses for why they haven't done it yet. But that's just conformity. So that is why the topic is choose to change. You are almost most definitely more like other people than you are different. And yet, the reality is there's only one of you. You are so unique. You should be weird. When people interact with you, you should be weird. You should be so different that it confronts them with this, like, why am I not like this person? Or why is this person not like me? Because that is what makes the difference between successful people and non-successful people. Successful people do not conform. They do not do things the way other people do them. That's why they're successful. Okay, so to be successful literally means you are different than the rest. You accomplish what other people don't accomplish, and therefore you must change, because the natural tendency for us would be to be the same as everyone else, to look the same, to be accepted among other people because we're more like them than different from them. Okay, so this is so important. It takes courage to change. It takes courage to make a decision to be different. Now, here is where the theory of evolution is actually an excellent way of looking at the world. Now, I personally do not believe humans evolved from apes into human beings. Okay, I don't believe it. You're welcome to believe it. I don't believe that. But the theory of evolution, the basic theory of evolution is that if you have a species, okay, you have some animal species, let's say birds, okay, and the natural habitat of those birds change. So there is either drought or something change for those birds. And among this grouping of this species, some of the chicks, when they are born, they have some sort of advantage. Maybe there is a huge there's a drop in temperature for a couple of years, and some of these chicks have thicker feathers. Okay, just biologically, there's some sort of mutation so that some of them had puffier feathers. Now, obviously, those little chicks that didn't have the puffier feathers, they would be less likely to survive. And if you're less likely to survive, you're less likely to have babies. But if you survive, because you survive, your genes are being passed on to the next generation. So, in other words, you had puffier feathers, and just like you have some traits of your parents, and some of those are transferred to you through your genes. The same thing is happening now to these little chicks with puffier feathers. Their children have puffier feathers. So what happens now? There is this microscopic evolutionary change that makes your descendants more able to survive in these conditions. So the point here being, if we were talking about success in the natural world, where animals, like success for an animal is to survive and to procreate, to have babies. That is success in the animal world. If you do not adapt in the animal world, if you do not adapt to your circumstances, your environment that is changing, you will die and you will not be successful. So we're not talking about living or dying in terms of success, but the theory, the principle stays the same. If you want to achieve success, one thing that you need to recognize and understand is the only way you are going to become successful is if you change. Okay. If you don't change along the way, you can't be successful, because, and that's because you are going to face problems. You are not just going to be successful because you wrote down your goals and because you work hard at them. Okay. That's not how it works. Think of, okay, I'll get to that just now. One of the biggest things that you are going to face in achieving your goals is obstacles, is problems. Now, in order to overcome a problem, because your problem is like there's a road you want to travel to, you want to reach a certain goal. Along that route, on that goal, something is going to hinder you, something is going to stop you. Okay, so for example, now, just as an example, I hugely underestimated what it's going to cost to employ a deputy principal. Okay, I didn't expect that at all. Okay, so that's a problem. I'm encountering a problem. I can just now say, okay, well, there goes that idea. Or I can say, because this is my goal, I can give up when I encounter a problem, or maybe there's obviously different types of problems you can encounter. But now with that problem, first I encounter the problem. Now I need to diagnose what exactly is the problem. After I identify what exactly is the problem, the next part of my solution is I need to find a solution for this problem. If I know what the problem is, I can now try and find a solution for that problem. Okay, that's simple enough. Are you all still with me? Okay, I'm hoping
Yes,
sometimes.
that's
Cool. Okay, now here's the thing. In order to find a solution, I need to know what things are in my power to control. If I like certain things I can't control at all, and if there's something I can't control, there's nothing I can do about it. Okay. Some things I can't control. I can't control my skin color, for example. Not that I'm saying that would be a problem, but just thinking of things, I can't control the weather. Okay. There's certain things I can't control. So it would be meaningless to try and change that. So the question when you encounter a problem is, what can I control? What is in my ability to control? Okay. So here's where I want to share with you a little thought from mathematics, and you guys would have encountered it in life sciences and physical sciences. It's called the dependent and independent variables. Who's got life sciences? Or who knows
Yes.
what? Tell me, what is the difference between a dependent and an independent variable? Who can tell me?
The independent variable isn't affected by it's not affected by the results, and then the dependent variable, it's dependent on the results, or the results depend on the dependent variable.
I think you're on the right track. So first of all, a variable is obviously something that can change, like temperature. Temperature can change. Money can change. My age can change. It's anything that can change. The number of people that are part of my team can change. Like, these are things that can change. Okay? So that's a variable. An independent variable independent variable is a variable that I can control. In other words, so a nice example I like to use is again in the one business I have, the bread baking business. We put the breads in a freezer, not a freezer, a fridge, and the fridge that it has to rise for 2 days in the fridge at a temperature between 3 and 6 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now, I can't control the temperature in the fridge. I can't control the temperature in the room. Okay. I can't say 3 degrees and then it's 3 degrees. Does that make sense? So that is a dependent variable. It's a variable that depends on other variables. What I can control is the little knob on the fridge. What I can control is where I put the loaves when it's rising. Okay, so these are things that is in my power to control. So that's called the independent variable. It doesn't depend on anything. It's in my control. So I turn the knob on the fridge so that it's at the right temperature. That knob obviously has an effect on how the fridge works, and that controls the temperature inside of the fridge. Okay, does that make sense? You guys understand the idea of the difference between dependent variables and independent variables?
Yes.
Okay, hopefully Hannah speaks for everyone. Okay, the trick then.
Understood, sir.
Cool. The trick then is to find a way to find out, if I encounter a problem, which of those problems, or what are the things that is in my control to change. Okay, because I can't change the other things. The other things will depend on what I change in the things that are in my power. Now, who can tell me what is the only thing that you can always change? That's only you can change it, and you can definitely change it. Who knows? What is the one thing that you can change and only you can change?
Your mindset.
Yep, it's me. The only thing that you can change, no matter what circumstance you're in, no matter what you're facing, the only thing you can change is yourself. Okay. Now, there's certain other things that's in your power. You can change that, but not until you realize that it's actually the problem, the reason why you're encountering the problem, the solution to that problem is going to start with you. Maybe I must change. And that's the only thing you can change. You can't change other people's opinions. You can't change other people's behavior. You can't change like almost everything in the world you can't change. But the one thing you can definitely change is yourself. Okay. And the one thing you don't want to change is yourself. Okay. You are comfortable with yourself. You're happy with yourself. You don't like, no one likes change. Okay. But once you realize that change is the thing that actually makes you successful, making decisions to be different. Different than what? Different than what you currently are is what brings about this change. Okay, so when we encounter, if we want to overcome a problem, one, I need to encounter the problem, I identify the problem. Next is I need to diagnose the problem. Okay, so what is the problem? First, you look at what are my weaknesses and what are my mistakes. So it's no good you try and externalize, okay, who made the mistake here? What did you do wrong? What did you do wrong? Why is this not happening for me? Why is the weather always against me? You start with, well, what are my weaknesses and what are my mistakes? Once you've identified those things, then the problem is simple. Okay, how do I overcome my weaknesses and my mistakes? Okay. How do we identify our weaknesses and our mistakes? So that's the thing. How do I actually now go about changing? Okay. The first and foremost thing is you have to face reality. Okay. If you want to change, if you want to overcome a problem, or you want to reach a goal, the first thing that you have to do is face reality. Just be honest. Like, here's something, a question to you guys. What do you think is easier? Is it easier to lie to someone, or is it easier? So here's the two scenarios. Is it easier to lie to someone, or is it easier to someone who believes a lie to convince them of the truth? Which one is easier? To get someone to believe a lie, or to get someone who already believes a lie to believe the truth? Which one is easier?
To convince the person of the lie.
You think it's easier to convince a person of a lie, to lie to someone, or to convince a person of the truth who already believes a lie?
To lie to someone.
It's easier to lie to someone. Give me, let me see.
I
How many
don't-
of you, give me a hands up. How many of you think that's true? It's easier to lie to someone, not for you, but it's easier to get someone to believe a lie than to get someone who already believes a lie to believe the truth. Give me a hands up if you, okay. Okay, now, think about this now. If that's true, if it's true that it's easier to believe a lie than to be convinced that some lie, that something I already believe is a lie, that means that the chances that I believe lies, the chances that, so follow me, the chances that, so you already say that's true, but you think that of other people. Now think about yourself. Is it possible that I believe more lies than I actually believe truths? Because it's easier to believe a lie than for truth to pierce through my lies, if that makes sense. So the first thing that in order to be able to change is to become humble, is to realize that I don't know everything. I probably believe more false things than I believe true things. because it's easier to believe false things than to be convinced of the truth once I believe the false thing. Okay, so that's the first thing, is face reality, be humble, recognize that I don't know everything, and I probably don't know everything I should right now. So how can I learn? Okay, so that brings us to that second thing, is be honest with yourself. Face reality, be honest with yourself. Most of us are deceived because we're self-deceived. Most of us want to believe that the world is exactly the way I think it is. The person most of us lies to the most is to ourselves. Okay, so be honest with yourself. If you're not going to be honest with yourself, there's no ways you can change, because you won't acknowledge to yourself that you need to change. Okay, and this is the most difficult one. Ask people. Ask people, what about you needs to change? What about yourself is limiting your own abilities? And don't take offense to what they say. This is super difficult. Listen to people. Don't try and defend yourself. I was doing this with my aunt, who really struggles in life. Like, her marriage failed. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't have finances, and I was trying to take her through some of these things, and I had to tell her, you are a negative person. Like, I've often had job opportunities in Elroy that I did not offer to her because she's a negative person. No one had ever told her that. And so no one wants to be around her because she's complaining the whole time. She's not a pleasant person to be around. And she didn't know that. No one had ever told her that. And it was very difficult for her to hear, no doubt. But if no one ever told her that, she would never know that that is something about her that needs to change. If she took offense and said, okay, yeah, but I'm negative because this and this and this and this, okay, if she tried to defend herself, she's not going to change. It's not going to make a difference in her life. Okay, so this is really hard, but ask people, and don't come to people like with this sorry attitude. Okay, I'm a miserable person. I mean, no, be confident that something about me needs to change. A lot of the times I am probably unaware of this shortcoming in my life. It's going to be super difficult to hear people say that, but I need to hear it. Only one person has ever done that to me that I know of. That maybe more people did it for me, and I was just too stubborn to hear it. Someone once told me in high school, you're stubborn. I said, no, I'm not. And if you get that joke, but that's actually true. Okay. I didn't listen. I continued to be stubborn. But my wife once told me something. It was super difficult to hear. I knew it about myself, and but I wasn't honest with myself. She needed to be honest with me. And it was heartbreaking, but I know she told me because she loves me. Okay. And I don't know if I've changed that, but I want to, and I try to. But yeah, ask people. The fourth thing is, how do I know what my mistakes and weaknesses are? Is read. Get opinions. Guys, I don't know if you know this, but on average, people read one book a year. On average. The top CEOs in the world, so I'm now using the example of CEOs because we'd probably consider them successful people, whether it is about salaries or because they are leaders, they acknowledge as people that can make a difference. The average CEO reads up to 60 books a year. Top CEOs. So what makes a difference? Is these people are different. How did they become different? Is because they exposed themselves to other people's ideas, to other people's understanding of the world. And how do you do that? You don't get to interact with, you don't get to run with Usain Bolt. okay? But you can probably read his biography. Do you understand? You can learn so much about the world because people put their thoughts and their ideas in writing. Okay, there's the 4 very important. I hope you guys are making notes. Face reality. Be honest with yourself. Ask people. I hope you're going to do this. Go to a close friend or to a parent and ask them if there's anything about me that should change. What is it? What do you think is limiting my or will limit my success in life? Okay, and then read and get more opinions, understand the world from other people's perspective. That will obviously highlight how you are different and what parts of you do not agree with certain things, and then you can evaluate if you differ with someone. Don't. And guys, here's one of the big things. You know how scared we are of confrontation in general. People don't want to engage in confrontation, but confrontation is great because it is an opportunity to see the differences between people. It doesn't have to be a fight. Confrontation just means we have a difference. Let's try and understand, why do we disagree? What is it in me and in you that are different? And how can we see which thing needs to change for us to be on the same page? So be confronted. Okay, here's the most crucial thing about change. All lasting change must be identity change. Okay. I've used this example before, and I have to give Hannah credit for that because she said something to me this year that really struck this point home. And I've said it before, and I'm sure she remembers. I asked the students to give me, the student ambassadors to give me some of their bad habits and good habits. And the first thing that Hannah said to me when I asked her is, she said, I am an organized person. Now, that's not something I can say about myself because I'm not an organized person. But since then, I've changed my identity. I can still show you my, let me just make sure my camera shows you. I can still show you now how neat my desk is because I've become an organized person. I realized how valuable it is to be organized. Like half of my life, I spend looking for my keys. Okay. I promise you guys, I am whole day looking for stuff. And that's because I'm not organized. So it's robbing me of my life. So in order for me to have changed, I needed to have an identity change. I needed to become an organized person. So I had to tell myself I am an organized person. I never used here's my exercise diary. Here's my planning, my day planner diary. All this have changed. And so Hannah, I'm going to give you credit for that because you helped me understand how valuable that is. But that made a difference in my life. So we need to find those things about us that need to change. And it's not just I need to do stuff differently. I need to be different. Okay. I need to have a new mindset. I need to think about myself as different. I've imagined myself at some point ripping off my shirt and show you guys how buff I am now. I won't do that because I'm not buff yet. But I'm getting there. Okay. But that's the point, is at some point I can say, and you know what's valuable for me in terms of this, I just want to explain how this works. My son, Noah, who's an amazing kid, but he's a sporty person. Like that boy taught himself to pass it. To this day, I can't pass it. Actually, he taught me how to pass a rugby ball. I never learned how to pass a rugby ball. He's so skillful with any ball, and he loves sport, etc. So as he's growing up and he's becoming more sporty, and I'm not sporty, we are drifting apart because he's something I'm not. And so if I don't embrace a certain change in my life, I'm going to lose certain relationships because we are having less and less in common. And so now him and I gym together. How cool is that? Okay. Now we have something in common because I'm becoming, or I am a sporty person. I am a person that gyms. I have made an identity change. And with that comes positive effects in our lives. Okay. With that, I want to end. But I want to, and we didn't get to do an exercise today, but I want to end by showing you a video. It's I think it's about a 6-minute video, if you guys can give me some time. And in that video is an exercise for us to do for the next 30 days. So just give me a moment to send you that video. So please make notes. This is the same guy, this Earl, what is his name? Earl Nightingale. He's the one that did that Stranger's Secret. He's like one of the first success motivators in the 1950s, and he had a radio broadcast, and this was one of his broadcasts.
It is a summation of more than 20 years of research on one subject, and that is, why do some people do so well in life, while so many more do not? And the first thing let's talk about is the magic word. The experts call it the most important word as far as the results we get from life are concerned in this or any other language, and that word is attitude. It is our attitude toward life which will determine life's attitude toward us. Let's face the fact honestly that we shape our own lives, and the shapes of them will be determined by our attitudes. A person with a poor attitude toward learning, for example, isn't going to learn much until he changes his attitude. If we take the attitude that we cannot do something, we generally will not do it. An attitude of failure, and we're whipped before we start. So we know then that what we receive from life, what we accomplish or fail to accomplish, is due in large measure to our overall attitude. William James of Harvard University put it this way: "The greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind." And isn't it wonderful that we have this measure of control? Before we start talking about our attitude toward the world, let's talk about our attitude toward ourselves, since it is the attitude we take toward ourselves which determines our attitude toward the world. Now, right here we come to a rather strange fact. We're so familiar with ourselves, we tend to take ourselves for granted. We tend to minimize the things we can accomplish, the goals we can reach, and for some equally strange reason, believe others can accomplish things in our field which we cannot. There are literally millions of human beings living narrow, darkened, frustrated lives, living defensively, simply because they take a defensive, doubtful attitude toward themselves, and as a result, toward life in general. Many people are suspicious of and oppose change, yet change is the one thing in life on which we can absolutely count. People who stay young all the years of their lives not only welcome change, but see it for what it really is: new opportunity, new chances for further fulfillment. Attitude is a reflection, a result of a person's will. It is incalculably powerful. It can bring about marvelous results for us, but we need to train it patiently, day by day. Now let's talk about the attitudes of people who are successful. The top 5% of the people who go sailing through life from one success to another, and who, even when they fail at something, shrug it off and head right out again. No matter who the person is or what he does, men and women in sales, business executives, people in all the professions, wives and mothers, students, top people in the armed forces, public servants, men and women in the service of religion, working men and women in all fields of endeavor, wherever you find a person doing an outstanding job and getting outstanding results, you will find a person with the right kind of attitude. These people take the attitude toward themselves that they can accomplish what they set out to accomplish, that there's no good reason on earth why they can't be competent, successful. They have a healthy attitude toward themselves and, as a result, toward life and the things they want to accomplish. And because of this, they achieve some remarkable things, and they come to be called successful, outstanding, brilliant, lucky, and a lot of other things. They're quite frequently no more brilliant or outstanding than the majority of the people by whom they're surrounded. But they did develop the right attitude, and they found their accomplishments not too difficult, and many times surprisingly easy, simply because it seems that so few are really trying, really believe in themselves. Successful people come in all shapes and sizes and in widely varying degrees of intelligence, background, and so on. But they all have one thing in common. They expect more good out of life than bad. They expect to succeed more than they fail. If you want something worthwhile, take the attitude that there are a lot more reasons why you can have it than there are that you cannot, and set out to earn it. Go after it, work at it, ask for it, and 9 times out of 10, you'll get it. Our environment is really a mirror of our mental attitude. If we don't like our environment, we have to change our attitude first. Now, the world plays no favorites. It's impersonal. It doesn't care whether we change or not. Adopting a good, healthy attitude toward life doesn't affect the world and the people in it nearly as much as it affects us. It would be impossible to even estimate the number of jobs which have been lost, the number of promotions missed, the number of sales not made, the number of marriages ruined by poor attitudes. But you can number in the millions the jobs which are held but hated, the marriages which are tolerated but unhappy, all because of people who are waiting for the world and others to change toward them, instead of being big enough and wise enough to at least make a test which will prove beyond any shadow of a doubt where most or at least a big part of the trouble lies. Studies made of the lives of literally thousands of successful people have shown that they radiate confidence, assurance, they expect success, and they get success. You can spot these people by the way they walk, by the way they look and act. You can feel it about them when they enter a room. They may be short and fat, or tall and thin, or any combination in between, but they have about them the attitude of success. In the record Greener Pastures, I'll get into this next statement, but right now I want you to realize, if you don't already, that in 5 years or less, you can get right to the top of the work you're now doing. I know this, but the important question here is, do you know this? The minute you do know it, you'll have this right attitude I'm talking about. The easiest and most effective means of forming a good attitude habit is to begin to act as though you have a good, positive, expectant attitude toward life. That's right. Begin right now to walk, act, and look as though you belong to this group. If you're already in the top 5%, you'll know what I mean. If you've never tried it, you'll be amazed at what happens. Actions trigger feelings, just as feelings trigger actions. Now, let me tell you of a little test you can make which will prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that a good attitude can change a person's life as dramatically as walking from a darkened room into the bright, clear light of day. Not long ago, I read a line which went, "Life is dull only to dull people." This is true, but it also could have read, "Life is interesting only to interesting people," or "Life is successful only to successful people." Now, what I'm trying to say is that you must first become, mentally, from an attitude standpoint, that which you wish to achieve. A famous restaurateur was being interviewed by a reporter who asked, "When did you become successful?" He replied, "I was successful when I was sleeping on park benches, because I knew what I wanted to do and that I would do it." In short, his attitude had been one of success, of expecting success, long before the material, the tangible rewards of success had been earned. We'll get into this particular phase of Lead the Field in record number 3, A Worthy Destination. But for now, remember that a person must act, look, and because of these things, feel successful before the success he seeks can come. Chances are you know people who seem to be what others call lucky. All kinds of good and wonderful things seem to happen to them, and they give the impression of happily sailing through life, having a wonderful time, and getting more accomplished in a year than most people do in 5. This has been figured out fairly scientifically, and if anyone will conscientiously go about the test I'm going to recommend, and stay with it every day for the next 30 days without fail, that person can join this small, happy, and extremely productive group of people. He'll find himself becoming lucky, as they say, and most of his problems will pretty well take care of themselves. Of this you can be sure. The results will be nothing short of amazing. Now, it makes no difference how good a person's attitude has been in the past. Anything can be improved upon, and it's the small refinements upon something already good that makes it great. So here's the test. For the next 30 days, act toward the world, everything and everyone with whom you come in contact, with the attitude which represents the kind of results you want to achieve. That is, if the result you want is more success in what you're doing, act as though you are already in possession of the success you seek. If you want others to treat you with admiration and respect, treat others with admiration and respect first. Have you ever stopped to think of this? Every human being on earth is the most important human being on earth, as far as he or she is concerned. You may never get anyone to admit it, but it's a fact. So for the next 30 days, treat every person with whom you come in contact as the most important person on earth, remembering as you do so that as far as that person is concerned, he is. Now, the reason I say treat everyone in this fashion is mainly because this is the way human beings ought to treat each other, and because it will help you form a habit that will bring you amazing and delightful results for the rest of your life. Have you ever noticed that the higher you go in any organization of value, the nicer the people seem to become? You see, the bigger the person, the easier it is to talk to him, to get along with him, to do business with him. Do you know why? It's because he's got a good attitude, and people with the best attitudes just naturally gravitate toward the top. So for 30 days, act toward others and the world at large in exactly the same manner you want the world and others to act toward you. Treat your wife or husband as the person he or she really is, the most important person in your life, and the same with the children. Carry out into the world each morning for 30 days the kind of attitude you would have if you were the most successful human being on earth. And notice how it quickly develops into an habitual attitude. When a person does this, he should realize he has already placed himself on the road to what he seeks. He is right now in the top 5% of the people in this or any other country. He has prepared the ground and planted the seed. He has made of himself a magnet, an embodiment of that which he seeks. Before metal can be cast into a desired shape, the mold, the expectant receptacle, must first be fashioned. Before a building can be erected, the excavation must be made and the foundation laid. And before a person can achieve the kind of life he wants, he must become that kind of individual. He must think, act, talk, walk, and conduct himself in all of his affairs as would the person he wishes to become. He is then actually that person, and the things that person would have and do will naturally come to him. Almost immediately, a change will be noticed. Irritations that used to frustrate and annoy disappear. When some less informed individual gives you a bad time, stay on the track. When someone cuts in front of you with his car or acts in any other manner that shows his ignorance and lack of courtesy, don't permit yourself to drop to his level. Pity him, for that's what he really deserves. That's the very group a person doesn't want to belong to. And if he acts like them, well, let's face it, he belongs with them. There's nothing in the world that men, women, and children want and need more than the feeling that they're important, that they're needed and respected. They will give their love, their affection, their respect, and their business to the person who fills this need. So the magic word is attitude. And in summing up, a few points to keep in mind. 1, it is our attitude at the beginning of a task which, more than anything else, will affect its successful outcome. 2, it is our attitude toward life which determines life's attitude toward us. 3, we are interdependent. It is impossible to succeed without others. And it is our attitude toward others which will determine their attitude toward us. 4, before a person can achieve the kind of life he wants, he must become that kind of individual. He must think, act, talk, walk, and conduct himself in all of his affairs as would the person he wishes to become. 5, the higher you go in any organization of value, the better will be the attitudes you'll find. 6, your mind can hold only one thought at a time, and since there's nothing at all to be gained by being negative, be positive. 7, the deepest craving of human beings is to be needed, to feel important, to be appreciated. Give it to them, and they'll return it to you. 8, look for the best in new ideas. As someone said, I've never met a person I couldn't learn something from. 9, don't waste valuable time broadcasting personal problems. It probably won't help you. It cannot help others. 10, don't talk about your health unless it's good. 11, radiate the attitude of well-being, of confidence, of a person who knows where he's going. This will inspire those around you, and you'll find good things will begin happening to you. And 12, lastly, for the next 30 days, treat everyone with whom you come in contact as the most important person on earth. If you'll do this for 30 days, you'll do it for the rest of your life. In the next recording, I'll talk to you about greener pastures. But now in closing, remember the words of Walter Dill Scott of Northwestern University. Success or failure in any undertaking is caused more by the mental attitude even than by mental capacities. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that, guys, we're going to sign off, but hopefully you got the instruction there from that video that for the next, so identify something or someone you want to be. So, for example, for me, it was to be an organized person. That was mine. I'm that now. I'm learning to be better at it. But I'm going to choose a different one now. Choose something that you want to be. It has to be an identity change. Okay. Maybe you want to be a confident person. Maybe you want to be athletic person, and a healthy person. So choose some identity that you want to be and assume that identity. Become an actor and enact that identity. Become that person or be that person you want to become. Does that make sense? So you need to take on a completely new mindset and assume you are that person. And then you start living out that identity, making decisions in line with that identity, thinking of yourself in terms of that, identifying things about you that doesn't fit with that must change. Does that make sense? So that is your instruction for the next week. Next week, I'm going to ask you guys what yours is. You're welcome to keep it private if you're embarrassed about what it is. I think I'll be a bit embarrassed about saying what mine is, but hopefully I'll have more confidence by that time. And then mine is written down, and then I'm going to embody. Then you embody that, and you live it out. Some things that I just want to highlight here at the end of the video. I didn't get to write down all 10. Hopefully some of you did write down some of them, but just some summaries of what he said there at the end is that your attitude, I think it comes down to your attitude will affect your altitude. Like how you think about yourself and about your life will determine your success in life. Your attitude towards yourself or your attitude towards life will affect life's attitude towards you. So if you're negative towards life, life is going to be negative towards you. Your attitude towards others will affect their attitude towards you. You can just test it. Be rude and mean to your family and see how long they will still be kind to you. Okay, go test that if you want. But be kind, generous, and supporting, and they'll reciprocate it. Then the fourth thing was be the person you want to become. The sixth thing I missed a few, but be positive is another one. Another one is make people feel important. And I love that. We did that in another book called How to Make Friends and Influence People. We do that in the other year of Dynamic Program. But people are the most important person in their own lives. Okay? Everyone. No one is more important than yourself for you. And so if that's true, that means treat other people as important as they think they are. And they will reciprocate good feelings back. Okay, I didn't get to make many more, but hopefully you guys did and learned something from them. Any last comments from you guys?
No, so all good this side.
Good. Okay. Hope you guys are ready to change.
Bye, sir.
Thanks. Is that Ricardo or is it Cameron? Oh, Ricardo. Cool.
So it was Ricardo, so.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. Well, have a lovely day, guys.
Bye, sir.
Cheers, Cameron.
Thank you.
Bye, Danielle.
Bye.
Bye, Hannah.
Bye.
Bye, Nikki.
Bye, sir. Have a good
Bye,
Bye,
day.
sir.
Bye.
Thank you, Mama. You too. Cheers, Consinati.
Bye,
Bye,
sir.
Taylor. Bye, guys.
Yeah, but it's a voice changer.